All right, guys, welcome back to the Pocket Mads channel. It's Maddie here, and welcome back to Meta Monday, the weekly series where we analyze the Pokemon Pocket metagame and keep you guys up to date on everything going on in the competitive world of Pokemon Pocket. This past weekend was PMPT number 40, the 40th of our weekly tournament series, and a really special one because it was the first big weekend of tournament play and competitive play since Ruler of the Skies released. And I'll tell you what, the metagame has been completely changed. It was an incredibly exciting weekend. Shout out to everybody that tuned into the live streams. And once again, as always, big shout out to all of the judges, the moderators, the casters, everybody that makes this happen on a weekly basis. But yes, we have so much to talk about, and we're going to dive right into it. We're going to talk about the final standings, we're going to break down the deck lists, and we're going to utilize pocketmads.com for all of it, as well as being able to break down a ton of really awesome metagame data that we have available on pocketmads.com. I'm super excited. So this is also a special Meta Monday, not only because it's a new season, but it's the first Meta Monday that we're going to be using pocketmads.com, which is super exciting. But before we get into it, do not forget to register for PMPT number 41, the next tournament. They keep coming. It's crazy. But the link to register should be down in the description below. $100 cash prize pool, just like always. It's going to be Saturday, August 8th at noontime. Super excited about that, guys. All right, let's get right into it. Here are the final standings from this past weekend's tournament. 450 odd players. Incredible amount of support and participation this weekend, and a lot of really good data. And I think you guys are going to be probably pleasantly surprised. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Let's take a look at it. Here we go, guys. All right. So things are going to look a little bit different here per usual, just because we are on pocketmads.com and not just straight off of limitless.com, which is where we run the tournaments. But here we go. These are the final standings. All right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can kind of see the standings and the players in their deck list. So in first place, we've got Lockpick04. Congrats to him, playing Vespiquen and Shuckle EX. Now on pocketmads.com, by the way, we don't have the country flags, at least yet on the website, but that is something that we're looking to incorporate. So I don't have necessarily the countries that the players are from. But if you are one of the players that placed highly, and if you're watching this video, comment down below and let us know what country you're from. But anyway, it was Lockpick04 in first place, and he was playing Vespiquen and Shuckle. It's funny because I had a comment the other day after I had highlighted Vespiquen, and they were talking about how bad Shuckle EX was. And I don't really feel that confident that Shuckle's the best Pokemon in the game, but Vespiquen is certainly an incredible Pokemon. We're going to break down this deck list in just a few minutes, but yes, Vespiquen getting first place at PMPT number 40 out of 450 plus players. I really do think that this might be the most successful deck so far in the new season, which is definitely a curveball. I think a lot of people, were having their eye on things like Mega Rayquaza EX or Mega Sharpedo, which are two very strong, very successful Pokemon so far in this new metagame, but Vespiquen has racked up wins. It is incredibly strong, and it does get first place. In second place, we have Cool 93, and guess what? It's Manectric with the new Heliolisk package here. That's going to be that spread damage Heliolisk, the new one that came out in Ruler of the Skies. Another card that I had underrated. I completely, when I was reviewing the set, completely forgot about Clement and Clement's backpack and that whole package and how it worked for Heliolisk. And this new Heliolisk is a really strong Pokemon. With that package, you pair it with Mega Manectric, which continues to be perhaps the most underrated Mega Pokemon of all time, and also one of the most successful decks. In fact, when you take a look at the quantity of different decks that made top 32 or day 2, Mega Manectric might be at the top of that list in terms of popular and successful. So an incredible weekend here. This new upgrade to the Lightning archetype for Mega Manectric, a really big deal, quite frankly. So shout out to Kuel for 93. In third place is going to be PGX Evan D, one of the better players that we have here in the competitive Pokemon Pocket scene, and he was playing a really creative Lucario and Greninja deck. And again, we're going to break down all these decks here in just a minute. Really interesting. Definitely, you're going to see this deck. It's an interesting deck. Kind of reminds me of some of those Sceptile Blaziken decks of, the previous season. He just kind of built this really, spicy list here with Mega Lucario and Greninja, made it all the way to Final Four and got third place. And then in fourth place is going to be Uceon. The names are so tough for me. Some of these names are crazy, but that's Suicune Excalibur. Again, kind of a legacy deck, perhaps the GOAT in all of Pokemon Pocket to this point. Suicune EX is, and I don't think anyone's surprised that Suicune found its way into top 4. Certainly still a popular deck, one of the stronger decks in the entire game. You best believe it's going to be sticking around, maybe even with Mega Manectric. However, Maybe not the best season for Suicune we've ever had. Power creep is a thing, but this is still going to be a strong option. Shout out to him in 4th place. And if we get outside of top 4 and we get into top 8, definitely some more interesting deck lists. It's going to be HQRCQNQ. This is a player who, again, I don't know how to say their username. It's just a bunch of letters, but they're always topping our tournament. So again, big shout out to him. And he was playing Gouging Fire and Dragonair, which is a Mega Rayquaza deck list. Now, a lot of people who are playing Mega Rayquaza are kind of just playing it as like a one-of in their deck lists. And I think that's probably totally fine. At the end of the day, you're going to win games by kind of finishing off or utilizing Mega Rayquaza. However, a lot of people have been, pairing certain Pokemon, certain Dragon-type Pokemon that work well with Dragonair and can sort of be your front line, right? It's good prize math mechanics to force your opponent to go through double Gouging Fire, which again is backed up by the Dragonair. These are new cards, by the way. Gouging Fire came out, I guess, 2 sets ago now. And then Dragonair came out this set. So this is a pretty new deck. And again, also playing Mega Rayquaza. We'll break down the deck list soon. But it's interesting. So that's what this deck list is. It's a Mega Rayquaza deck, but Gouging Fire is sort of the, the early game, I guess. How do I describe it? It's the Pokemon that you're using until you get into Rayquaza. You'll see when we pull up this deck list. Double Gouging Fire, double Dragonair, and probably 1 Mega Rayquaza EX. 6th place is going to be Jibe85, who is playing Mega Lucario. So again, I do think Mega Lucario is kind of here to stay. We spent a lot of time talking about the new Mega Gallade EX, which, to be honest, I do think is a strong card. I just don't know if there's a lot of reason to play it over an already solidified, sort of figured out, and well understood archetype, which is really defining the fighting archetype over the last couple of months, and that's Mega Lucario. So Mega Lucario finding itself in here twice in top 8. Again, no surprise, definitely still one of the stronger Megas in the game. Mega Hassan EX in 7th place was playing Mega Altaria. This is Sleep Altaria. Now, I honestly expected Sleep Altaria to maybe just kind of carry its way through this entire tournament. Early seasons, it kind of ends up being something similar to like an Oricorio was back in the day, where people don't necessarily counterplay it at the beginning of the seasons. They're kind of playing, the new decks. I still suspect Sleep to be relevant. It's going to be something that we're going to have to counterplay at some point this season, and no surprise that it found its way into top 8. Shout out to Mega Hassan. Liam Crew in 8th place. Once again, Vespiquen. So Vespiquen not only getting 1st place, but 8th place. So both ends of the top 8 spectrum there. Multiple different Vespiquens did very well this tournament. And again, just one of the better new decks in the game, just hyper consistent. We'll talk more about it in a little bit. Shout out to him. And into top 16, we've got TTV JMPM9 playing Miraidon Magnezone. So, finding its way somewhat high up here in the standings. Magnezone Miraidon, certainly one of the more popular decks over the last couple of months. However, we do have this sort of new Manectric Helio-esque deck, which might kind of knock this down a peg slightly, but shout out to JMPM9 playing Miraidon Magnezone. 9th place. 10th place is going to be Stearns, who was playing the new Hoopa EX, paired with Mega Absol. Here's an interesting deck list, similar to the Dark Greninja deck with Hoopa. However, they just weren't playing Greninja. They were just playing straight Hoopa, Darkrai, and I believe Mega Absol. The new Hoopa EX is an incredible card, and we will talk about it soon. Yeah, shout out to Stearns. 11 is Gosu, who was playing Mega Diancie, but a quite interesting Mega Diancie deck, similar to how I was sort of theory crafting Mega Diancie before it released, which was not with Mega Gardevoir. It was actually just with Giratina EX in sort of like a Mew-Tina kind of rebirth type of deck list. Really interesting. We'll take a look at it soon. 12th and 13th place is going to be 5 centimeter Dallas. I don't know where you guys come up with the names. And Kronos, who were both playing, again, Manectric Helio-esque, a very, very popular deck this weekend and a very successful deck. And then it is going to be Rin 0914, 14th place, playing Hoopa. Once again, Hoopa EX, a really good card, but with Greninja this time. We're going to break down on these decks soon. I just want to give these players like their shout out. And then again, 15th, 16th, 17th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Yeah, all Mega Rayquaza decks. This one here, Golfer MT was not playing Gouging Fire, but was still playing Mega Rayquaza. Anything with Dragonair is probably going to be a Mega Rayquaza deck this season. 18th, 19th place, more Manectrics. And if we go down here, 20th, another Gouging Fire. 21st is where we finally see a Zoroark EX. And all the way down at 25th place is going to be Eternal TCG, who was playing Mega Sharpedo, and this is going to be a Milotic deck. So Mega Sharpedo didn't have a great position this weekend, although it is certainly an incredibly strong card. Lots of lightning flying around. This new Manectric deck really does well into Mega Sharpedo. So while I do think Mega Sharpedo and really all of the different variants are quite strong, early on this season, not looking to be a great place, especially, I know that in Pokemon Pocket, water decks aren't weak to grass, but like, it's funny that, you know, the two kind of probably the most popular new archetypes here are going to be the new Mega Manectric version and Vespiquen, as well as Dragon, which I guess does resist water, does it? I don't know. But yeah, not a great time to be playing water right now. I'll say that for free. But anyway, guys, yeah, it's kind of the archetypes here, at least at the top of the standings. We can, of course, view everything. So the other decks in top 32, more Manectric. There's a Suicune, Milotic, another Vespiquen, another Sharpedo, Mega Rayquaza, Red Champion actually playing Magnezone in Rayquaza, which is interesting. And then 31st place, we did have Blaziken and then another Zoroark here in 32nd place. That's Dexter Morgan, which is awesome. So yeah, anyway, if you guys wanted to kind of take a look at the entire standings and take a look at really all of the decks and the entire scope of the metagame, you can go right over to PocketMats.com. You go to the tournament section, and all of the tournaments, not just ours, have been uploaded to the website where you get all of the standings, all of the different deck lists, and all of the metagame data. It's actually really cool. So if you want to go to PocketMats.com, link down in the description below. It's a great website. We're highlighting it right now. But let's break down the deck lists, okay? We're 10 minutes in. This is what you guys want, is to talk about the decks. So let's just do it, all right? The first place deck is going to be Lockpick 04. And we did hear your guys' recommendations from the last video. So we have updated the deck list or the website a little bit as it pertains to deck lists. So now it should be a little bit easier for you guys to view here on the website. Looks a little bit more like Limitless used to look like. And this code card, by the way, for the first place deck should work, this QR code. You guys should be able to scan this pretty easily. I think we got this fully working now, but comment down below if you guys do have any issues. We've been listening in the comments, don't worry. But anyway, here is the deck list, okay? So listen, the Vespiquen EX is very good, and it's very good for a number of different reasons. The main reason to me is that it's grass type, and grass right now seemingly has more going for it as an archetype than any other in Pokemon Pocket. You have Fragrant Forest, you have Leaf Cape, you have Erica, which is a really strong healing option, particularly for basic and stage 1 EX Pokemon, because you can't play Lily, but it effectively almost is a Lily. And you would also have Quick Growth Extract. We're not playing it in this deck list, but some decks can play it. So Vespiquen EX, again, if you don't know, 70 damage, but if you discard a grass basic from your bench, it does 140. And that's 140 for 2 grass energies, which is quite frankly a lot of damage, especially in a metagame where there's a lot of grass weak dark Pokemon that are quite strong. And then, you know, grass has a lot of strong leadoff options. Also, I forgot Ogerpon, right? So you don't even have to worry about sleep or status condition stuff. Ogerpon is just going to be a really, really good card in the deck list. And a lot of strong leadoffs. So this deck is playing 1 Kartana, 1 Pheromosa, and 1 Shuckle. So you don't really want to lead Combee. However, Combee's attack does deal 30 damage, which is pretty clutch in a lot of scenarios. And then, of course, Ogerpon. So you don't really want to lead with Combee or Ogerpon. You'd rather lead off with Kartana or Pheromosa or Shuckle to kind of deal damage, set up your board just like you kind of used to with Sceptile and other grass type decks. Shuckle's an interesting card because you got to understand that Vespiquen allows you to discard damaged Pokemon on your bench, just like Wild Swing Gyarados can do. So oftentimes, if you have a Pokemon, especially ones that are worth 2 prizes on your bench with damage, it's a kind of a losing condition because they can get Cyrused up and then you lose the game. So one of the biggest upsides of Vespiquen is that you can discard that damaged Pokemon and not really have to worry about getting Cyrus back up and losing the game that way. You can kind of focus your opponent to have to go through Vespiquen and basically wipe all of the damage that they might have done early in the game off the board. And Leaf Cape's going to bring Shuckle here up to 150 HP with Solid Shell. It's taking 20 less damage from attacks. And as you see here, Vespiquen is going to go up to 170, which is a really good number. Not a lot of things in the game are going to be able to hit for 170. So just a really strong deck. Again, Erica for some healing. We have Cyrus in here, double Copycat, double Research. No Pokeball, because Fragrant Forest is a better Pokeball. It's also going to help remove those Rainbow Caves and other stadiums, like Soothing Shore, that other decks might be playing. So it's just really beneficial to play Fragrant Forest. Field Blower as well, because why not? And then an X Speed. And these are going to be kind of your 19th and 20th cards of the deck, which, to be fair, are very good versions of it. The reason why we're playing X Speed and not Small Balloon is because we want to play Leaf Cape. So, we would like to be able to attach Leaf Cape and also X Speed. And retreat, right? Which is why we're doing that. So yeah, and this is going to be a pretty similar deck to what you're seeing in terms of Vespiquen decks. And honestly, I think it's very strong. Maybe the Shuckle gets removed eventually. Maybe one of the Kartana Pheromosas get removed. I like this because you have 3 different leadoff options and they're all pretty useful. And they all have a retreat cost of 1, which is honestly a pretty big deal in this deck list. So an incredible deck. It really is. It's just consistent. To me, it kind of feels like the grass type Zoroark. Because it's like a stage 1 and it's hyper consistent. Of course, very different cards. This does a lot more damage than Zoroark and it has an extra energy in its attack cost. But in terms of like being a stage 1 2-prize Pokemon deck, it's kind of the only thing that we really have comparatively. And as we know, that's actually a really strong place to be in the game in terms of HP amount, consistency reasons, prize mathing. And I think Vespiquen really takes advantage of it. You would think this deck list is a little bit sketchy from the prize math perspective because you're playing a bunch of single prize Pokemon with low HP with 2-prize Pokemon. But again, Vespiquen can discard Pokemon if they're ever in trouble, which is like in general a pretty big deal. So you can kind of fix that issue. Vespiquen's really got everything going for it. No, just an incredibly strong, deck list. So again, shout out to Lockpick there. Second place is going to be, and I did show the code, I believe, but let's pull that code back up just so if you guys, if you missed it, there you go. You can scan that, put it right into your game. Super cool. Shout out to PocketMats.com. Second place is going to be Mega Manectric, okay? Now, Mega Manectric is still, in my mind, an incredible Mega Pokemon. I mean, one of the better ones we've ever had, and it really kind of falls down to the same thing of being a 2 energy attack cost stage 1 Pokemon with a lot of other tools kind of going for it. I do think that this new Heliolisk package, the new Electro Spark Heliolisk is a really big deal because it's going to allow you to deal a ton of chip damage, not use a ton of energy, and be a really strong leadoff that can kind of set up a board that's really easy for you to come in the late game with Mega Manectric and just deal a ton of damage, right? If you do end up taking KOs with Heliolisk, then Mega Manectric comes in and is absolutely terrifying because it's probably hitting for 110 damage, maybe even 140 by the time it comes in. It's got 190 HP and it's super easy to set up. It really is quite dangerous. Clement and Clement's Backpack gives this deck a ton of consistency, even more consistent than like the Zeraora version, which we've seen in the past. So double Research, double Pokeball, double Copy, or 1 Copycat, and then double Clement. You're just pulling so many cards out of your deck list that you're really moving through your deck quite quickly, and every Pokemon in this deck is dealing a lot of damage for low energy cost. It really feels to me like one of the more lightning type decks we've ever had, but a spread deck as well. And this is really cool because we don't really see a lot of meta spread damage decks in Pokemon Pocket. This is definitely one of them, certainly something that we're going to have to keep our eye on because this, to me, is a top-tier meta contender. Tomorrow will be our tier list, so I'm going to be kind of doing my best to rank all of these new decks in the new metagame tomorrow, so you're going to want to stay tuned for the tier list video. We're playing 1 Cyrus in here because, again, spread damage, bench damage, you got to play a Cyrus. Elegant Cape, which is not only going to bring Heliolisk up to 110 HP, which is like, okay, I guess, but it brings Mega Manectric up to 210, which is just a lot of damage. You're not going to get KO'd, and it's kind of crazy that Elegant Cape and Mega Manectric, it all just goes together so well. And then Field Blower, kind of the consummate 20th card in a lot of these decks for Pokemon Pocket. So yeah, I spent some time talking about this. It's like the 3rd time I've already referenced this deck list on the channel. No surprise, it's really, really strong. I know it didn't get first place, but if you take a look at the entire scope of the meta and the results of the tournament this weekend, this might actually be the most overall successful deck. And we'll talk a little bit more about that data after we break down the deck list. So there's the code for you guys. Very interesting stuff. I mean, it's very, very interesting to see, like what's actually doing well early on this season. 3rd place is going to be PGX7D. That's that Lucario Greninja deck, which is a very interesting deck list. And again, one that is incorporating the new Why Not baby Pokemon, which is why I really like this. So let's break this all down. Double Riolu, only 1 Mega Lucario, a 2/2 Greninja line, double Rare Candy in here, double Copycat, double Pokeball, double Research, 1 Cyrus. So all of the standard stuff that you would think would be in this deck list. Field Blower and Lucky Egg. Now, Lucky Egg is a really strong draw support card here. It's a tool card that you would typically play with baby Pokemon, so you could kind of sacrifice your baby Pokemon and then draw a bunch of cards. Now, what's interesting is that we're not playing Chingling in this deck, we're playing the new Why Not, which is a really, really strong card that came out in Ruler of the Skies. It's got Stompy Jammer. During your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon cost 1 more colorless energy, and this doesn't cost you any energy. It also does deal 10 damage, which I think is kind of a big deal for the chip damage perspective. So this effectively allows you to slow the game down. It just pauses the game, and a lot of decks in the meta right now are pretty reliant on these single energy attack cost Pokemon to lead off the game. It's just very, very common. So going first, this is a really strong option. It also stops sleep, so it's going to stop that turn 1 Iggly buff if you are going first, or I guess they could just attach, but it's going to still be really, really annoying. So slowing the game down like this knocking your opponent off their energy curve is a really big deal, especially considering how strong on the back end this deck list really is with Mega Lucario and Greninjas. It's a ton of damage. And I like this, right? I do like this because Mega Lucario always played extra damage modifiers. It was one of the unique things about Lucario with Karina, with Arena of Antiquity. He just decided, you know what? I'm just going to play Greninja instead of all of that. Greninja has other applications. It also combos with Cyrus for bench damage. So I like why not? Why not with Greninja on the back end and then you go into Mega Lucario and you sweep. It's actually a really, really strong deck. I think that this Why Not has a ton of potential, as well as the other baby Pokemon which came out, which I honestly forget which Pokemon it was called. But that's also a good baby Pokemon. These new babies have a lot of place. Definitely have a place in the metagame. Which one is it? It's the one that shuffles your hand back and draws as many cards as your opponent. I forget the actual Pokemon that the card is, but it also came out in Ruler of the Skies. But anyway, yeah, Mega Lucario Greninja. This is one of those flash in the pan type decks. I don't know if this is something that will really catch on, but maybe, just maybe, it becomes sort of the standard for Mega Lucario this season, right? Early performances can kind of affect people's opinions about a deck moving forward. And if you wanted to try this out, there's the code. Go ahead, copy that, put it into your game, enjoy it. Try it out. Let me know what you guys think about it. Definitely really cool. And creative, really creative. So again, I know it's Greninja and it's Lucario, so people are kind of maybe eye rolling at this, but it is incorporating the new Why Not in a really interesting way. So I think that's really cool. I think Evan D did a really great job with that deck. And then you see on here is going to be Suicune Baxcalibur, which I don't think is going to be very surprising here. No, it's not. I mean, I do like that we're playing one Mars and one Red in this deck, so one copycat. That's cool. I like seeing Mars and Red. These are kind of throwback cards, and they are strong. Mars continues to be kind of their, Suicune Baxcalibur, I think, is the only deck in the game that plays Mars. And I think card advantage is really still important, but I think most decks right now have just sort of given up on the whole fact of slowing down your opponent, and more so just also drawing cards and just hoping that you kind of get the right cards and your opponent doesn't. That's kind of the new kind of way that the metagame goes. But the way that Suicune Baxcalibur works as a deck list, only 2 prize Pokemon that are going to be in the active, which sort of means that you can Mars your opponent to 1 at one point, and Suicune draws double cards. So it is somewhat effective, and it's a way to kind of counteract your opponent maybe using Copycat against you, right? So Mars does fit quite well in Suicune, and it's nice to see that Mars continues to survive. Other than that, though, it's pretty much still one of the top decks of the entire metagame. Again, maybe you don't really love going against Heliolisk Manectric, for sure. There's going to be some bad matchups for Suicune, but I mean, it's Suicune. It's so good. I mean, it's going to be so difficult. And Qianpao really is kind of the MVP here in terms of win conditions for the water type, because Sharpedo right now oftentimes is also playing Qianpao. Water type decks are really good at generating additional energies, whether that is with Sharpedo, the new Mega Sharpedo, or Ice Maker here with Baxcalibur. It all just comes down to getting those energies on Qianpao and hitting a bench Pokemon for 130, and that's how you win. So there you go. I mean, listen. Here's the code if you guys want to play Suicune. You guys probably already have it built, but there you go. Shout out to Suicune for continuing to keep us, respecting it, which we should. I mean, you got to respect Suicune. You got it. You definitely have to. It's going to be kind of a long Meta Monday video, but anyway, this is going to be HQR's deck list here, and this is Gouging Fire, so I think this was actually the most popular archetype this season. In fact, it was Mega Rayquaza with Gouging Fire. So, early emerging as kind of maybe the best Pokemon or one of the best Pokemon to pair with Mega Rayquaza. They both have fire and lightning energy in their attack cost. Gouging Fire, and we are playing a booster capsule energy here, by the way. Which is going to increase Gouging Fire's HP up to 150, which is kind of crazy. Rainbow Cave, Dragonair, Mega Rayquaza, and Gouging Fire. So the same concept for Mega Rayquaza that I talked about basically before we even, had the set released or anything was, Dragonair, set a Mega Rayquaza, consistent damage output, or set it up for the late game and deal a ton of damage. What's nice about Gouging Fire is that it's actually very tanky. It does 100 damage, which is a lot, by the way, especially with Dragonair backing it up. You do discard 2 energy from it, but that's not really that big of a deal, considering that if with Dragonair, you can just kind of keep this thing getting set up, and it takes 30 less damage from attacks, which, does add up. It's going to be quite difficult to KO this thing in one hit, which means you're going to take Scorching Eruptions multiple times on this Gouging Fire. It's going to get hit multiple times, and that's going to be pretty significant. It's just a lot of damage, and having to go through double Gouging Fire and then have to go through Mega Rayquaza is not the easiest thing in the world, I will say. There's no Poncho for this deck list, so, you best believe that bench damage sniping stuff is going to definitely be really important into an archetype like this, because it will just sort of it'll just start rolling. And once this thing starts going, it's going to be really tough to deal with. Mega Rayquaza, Dragonair. I think Mega Rayquaza is probably going to be the main Dragon-type Pokemon. I love the new support for Dragonair, or from Dragonair, and I do think it's a really good card. But at the same time, like, what Dragon Pokemon are you playing out there that's just better than Mega Rayquaza? Like, there's probably not many. And what's interesting is a lot of those ancient Dragon Pokemon that were released in Paradox Drive a couple of sets ago are actually really strong cards now, with the context of Dragon's Blessing Dragonair in the game now, and Rainbow Cave and Sada. I forgot to mention we have Sada, which effectively just also works with Rainbow Cave and the ancient Pokemon. It's crazy. So Sada, Rainbow Cave is going to work for really any ancient type deck list, which I do find to be quite interesting. It's maybe something that we should look for in the future. But if you're playing ancient Pokemon and they're Dragon types, you can play Sada and Dragonair and just go insane. Just dump energies into the discard and bring them all back very, very rapidly. One Cyrus in here, one PCL, and Small Balloon. This is going to give Dratini free retreat and Mega Rayquaza free retreat, because the card that you want to go into for the most part, for the majority of the game, is going to be Gouging Fire. You want both Gouging Fires in the active, and then you want to finish off with the Rayquaza. That's a nice 1-1-3 prize trade. 5 total points. The math is working there. That's exactly what we like to see in Pokemon Pocket decks. And it's really good. It's really quite good. There's other Pokemon that people are playing. Here's the code, by the way, with Mega Rayquaza, maybe Drampa, maybe Dragon Arcana, Altaria. All good stuff. I think the main issue with Drampa, which I do think is actually a bit more consistent and a bit just better overall, it just gets KO'd by Gouging Fire, because Gouging Fire does 100 damage. So you're probably not going to see a ton of Drampa flying around. That is, of course, unless Gouging Fire just stops seeing play, but I don't think so. I think Drampa might be better overall, but it's not as good into the head-to-head into Gouging Fire, so just play Gouging Fire. I guess that is kind of what people have been leaning towards. But anyway, yeah, there you go, guys, and there's that code. Really, really strong. And again, this was the most popular deck of the tournament. So it really shouldn't be, and no one should be surprised, I guess, by that, by the fact that is kind of the new most popular deck, right? Because it is. It's what people are playing. Next up here, this is going to be Jibe85's deck. By the way, he went 10-2. Shout out to him. This is going to be Mega Lucario and kind of a traditional, Mega Lucario. It doesn't fit on the screen, unfortunately, but there's an X speed down here. Kind of a one-of Lucario deck, just one-ofs of everything. One Hitmonlee, one Sock, one Fighting Coach Lucario, one Antiquity, one Cyrus, one Karina, one PCL, one Poncho, one Rocky Helmet, and one X Speed down here. So I still think Mega Lucario is strong. I do. And I think that fighting is going to have a lot of potential, especially if you can build your Mega Lucario deck to 1-hit KO Mega Manetrix. That might put you in a pretty good position into a couple of the decks that are pretty common in the metagame. Technically as well, Mega Lucario is one of the only Pokemon in the game that can KO in one hit Mega Rayquaza, right? So it's going to have a benefit. And that's the thing about Mega Lucario and these new fighting type decks, is they just have more reach. They hit higher damage thresholds, and it just kind of makes them really specifically unique in a metagame, especially this metagame where there are a lot of Pokemon in that HP range. There's other Pokemon that have 180, 190 HP, so it's kind of a big deal. I think Mega Lucario is just really good. Now, I don't know. I mean, we just highlighted that Greninja version, which is really cool. This, to me, is more of a standard version, right? One that we're a bit more accustomed to seeing, but they're both really good. And at the end of the day, it's a Mega Lucario deck, so that's most of the time how you're going to win. Here is the code for those who wanted to play this Mega Lucario deck, but I assume you probably have something similar to this already built from the last season. There's nothing really new in here, but there you go. Shout out to Jibe, or Gibe. I don't know how to say the name. I apologize, but there you go. Mega Hassan, and this is going to be Sleep Altaria here in 7th place. 921 record, and it's Sleep Altaria. Again, we don't need to spend too much time here. It is what we all understand it to be. This is something that, because there is kind of a bit of an absence of psychic type, right? So there's going to be that rock, paper, scissors formulating. Mega Manetric might be getting really common. Lucario might become more popular because of that, and then Mega Altaria might be able to kind of sweep in and have a decent matchup, into those fighting decks, right? Because that's the thing, is like the fighting type decks are in fact fighting Pokemon that oftentimes have psychic weakness. Even though Mega Altaria is a fairy Pokemon, but it's a psychic type in the game. Fighting's weak to fairy anyway, so it all works out. But anyway, yeah, I mean, there you go. This is the deck. I don't think it's changed at all. So again, another deck that you guys probably have built, but if you did want to play Sleep Altaria, here you go. Here is the highest placing Sleep Altaria deck of the largest tournament so far this season. And shout out to Mega Hassan. 8th place is going to be Liam Crew, also Vespiquen. So this is going to be our second Vespiquen. And let's pull this up, see if there's any differences here. And it doesn't look to be. There is. He's playing a quick growth extract in place of Field Blower, I believe, maybe. But the Pokemon are all the same. So I think 19 of these cards are the same as the other deck, which, you know, I think this is good. I do think it's becoming, you know, somewhat standardized already. Not to say there isn't some innovation or changes that are going to come to this particular archetype at some point this season. But for right now, this is what kind of the top players are agreeing is kind of the best option. And again, very similar to the deck that got first place. So just kind of replace, I believe it was Field Blower with a quick growth extract, might let you get into your Vespiquens a bit more consistent. Here you go. There's another code, even though the decks are almost the same. I'm going to pull it up because we have it. Super cool that we have these codes on PocketMeds.com. So I really, really love it. And I believe these codes should be working now. If they don't work, I really apologize. Comment down below. We'll get it working. We'll reach out to our site's dev, D Shook. Shout out to him. Absolute legend. 9th place, TTV JMPM is going to be Miraidon Magnezone. Again, I don't think we're going to be shocked here about this deck list. Yeah, I don't think so. 1 Oricorio, 1 Zeraora. So it is a bit of a mixed bag here. We're playing kind of a little bit of everything. It's still double Miraidon, single Mag with Toro, which I think is kind of just what people are doing here. 1 Lycia, 1 Sabrina, 1 Cyrus, 1 Copycat, 1 Clement, 1 Giant Cape. Miraidon Magnezone still a top tier deck. I think kind of this new season is kind of pushing Mega Manectric to the forefront of the metagame, which I think is fine. You know, I think that's a really strong deck. I think Lightning is really good. There's no shortage of strong Lightning type deck options, whether it's Oricorio, Zeraora, Magnezone, Miraidon, Manectric, Heliolisk. The list goes on, quite frankly. So, yeah, I mean, there you go, guys. There's Miraidon. Super cool. I'm glad it did well, right? To have a Miraidon and a Suicune and a Lucario and an Altaria. Kind of a mix of the new stuff and the old stuff all kind of mashed together here at the top of the standings. There's the code TTV JMPM. Big shout out to him. I keep backing out for some reason. That's my bad. All right. Next up here, and these are probably going to be like the last two that we'll talk about because this video is getting a bit long. But again, if you wanted to check out decks that were farther down in the standings, just go to PocketMeds.com and check it out for yourselves. But I want to talk about this Hoopa deck and this Giratina deck. Maybe we'll also talk about Rin's deck. So let's break these down. In 10th place is going to be Stearns playing the new Hoopa EX. And this is going to be a purely dark type Hoopa EX deck with Mega Absol and Mega Darkrai. So this is effectively Hoopa EX, but just without Greninja. Now, I don't think it's a bad deck with Greninja. I don't think it's a bad deck without Greninja. In fact, I think no matter what, Hoopa EX is a phenomenal card. Just a very, very strong card. 1 energy, 30 to the active, 20 to the bench here with Shadow Bullet. This thing is insane. 150 HP. It's a basic Pokemon. Probably one of the best leadoffs we have in the entire game right now. And it is weak to grass, just like all of our dark Pokemon are. Bombardier is going to give Absol a retreat cost of 1. It's also going to give Darkrai a retreat cost of 1 less. So you're able to attach and then retreat, maybe go into Hoopa. But the core concept of this deck list to me is the amount of overall chip damage that we have between Deceptive Needle, Hoopa EX, Darkrai EX. It's actually a lot of damage, and it really does add up, right? So instead of 30 to the active and 20 to the bench, it quickly becomes, 40 and 20 or 60 and 20, right? Which for 1 energy and 150 HP Pokemon is absolutely ridiculous, especially since on the back end, you're going to have to go through a Mega Absol or Darkrai EX. So that's really what this deck's all about. I love double Repel in here. And the reason why I love double Repel is because, the bench damage pressure early in the game with Hoopa means that we're able to kind of bring in whichever Pokemon that we want, maybe trap our opponent into a Pokemon they don't want to be in while still being able to put on pressure to their bench, right? So Repel here, really, really strong. I know I'm definitely playing Sabrina in my Hoopa decks, but Repel might even be better. So that's kind of a throwback and a card that I really like. Lucky Ice Pop because High Roll does exist, so why not? Giant Cape brings your Pokemon up to like kind of crazy numbers. 170 HP Hoopa, 160 Darkrai, and then what is that, 190 HP Mega Absol? Like those are good numbers, so why not play Giant Cape? Kind of get yourself out of some KO thresholds. Double Cyrus, double Repel, double Needle, Hoopa. This deck is mean. Dark's got a lot going for it. Unfortunately, like I said, Vespiquen kind of becoming, kind of a top tier grass type deck strategy in this new season, but Dark is phenomenally strong. I got to give you the code, by the way. Here you go. Try it out. I'm going to highlight this Hoopa deck and then a Greninja Hoopa deck. Both I do think are really strong. Just tons of best, it's like aggressive bench damage, versions here. Deceptive Needle's a really good card. I don't know if it is actually, I think it is kind of better than Rocky Helmet just because you don't have to be, you don't have to attack for it to work. And it does work after your first turn, right? Because even if you can't attach an energy, going first, you can in fact just attach Needle and then pass your first turn and you'll still deal 10 damage, which is actually pretty funny sometimes, especially if they want to retreat on their first turn, right, and go into something. You can actually just like tag it with Needle and bring it back with Cyrus. Like it's a really controlling type deck and a really strong deck as well. Next up here, let's talk about Gosu in 11th place. This is going to be the second to last deck that we take a look at. And this is Mega Diancie with Giratina. So this was, again, like kind of the way that I was theorizing we maybe would play Mega Diancie before this card got released and everybody started to play it with Gardevoir. And that was just like with Giratina. Like you just kind of play it like you played Giratina Darkrai, or more accurately, Giratina and Mewtwo from way back in the day. Mega Diancie is a strong card. You just kind of split the energies. You either lead, you try to get Giratina in the active, of course, and then you just Broken Space Bellow and attach to Diancie, and you Broken Space Bellow and attach to Diancie, and you can kind of, you can double attach. It's Giratina in a Psychic Energy deck is always really strong because you can double up and attack on turn 3, which is a big deal. Giratina does 130 damage, which is quite a bit, quite honestly. Rocky Helmet as well, Indeedee to keep it alive, Giant Cape, Starting Plains, Lucky Ice Pops, Double Protective Poncho. This is actually a very tanky deck list. It's really difficult. All of these Pokemon are really sticky. Again, Indeedee can deal a lot of damage into certain archetypes. It's also great for the healing, and then you have Ogerpon to be immune to statuses. And then Diancie can hit like a truck late in the game. So I really like this. And again, it was sort of kind of a concept that I thought would be quite good. Just people didn't really play Mega Diancie this way when it released. They all just played it with Gardevoir. And as we know, Gardevoir didn't really do very well. So maybe we try this. You know what I mean? Very creative. If you wanted to play a Psychic type deck right now that's not Sleep Altaria or Altaria at all, try this out. Giratina is a good card. It continues to be a good card. I do think that the game and the pace of the game has maybe crept up a little bit too much, so I don't really feel great playing Giratina in non-Psychic type decks, but as far as Psychic type decks playing Giratina goes, this is certainly a really good one. So there you go, there's the code. And again, shout out to Gosu. I really like that deck. It kind of reminds me of what I thought, Giratina and Diancie would be like. Then here I'm going to skip down to 14th place. This is going to be Rin 0914. This is going to be the last deck that we take a look at, and this is going to be Dark Greninja, which is kind of a crazy version of Dark Greninja, I will say, because they're not actually playing any Darkrai and they're not playing any Absol, which I don't personally know if I agree with, but that's what they're doing here. So it's Hoopa, Deceptive Needle, Field Blower, and Inflatable Boat, just in case you do lead with Froakie, double Copycat, double Cyrus, double Pokeball, double Research, double Rare Candy. So it's just a really small deck in terms of the different types of cards in the deck list. There, when you look at this, you think to yourself, maybe there isn't that much room, but I do think playing like a Darkrai in this deck is worth it. I know leading Darkrai is quite bad, but if you lead Froakie or Hoopa, like it's not terrible. In fact, you want to lead Hoopa. So to me, I still think playing one Darkrai for extra, damage is good. But the thing about Hoopa is it also does 100 damage, right? So the only upside to attaching to Darkrai above Hoopa is perhaps just sort of more damage while Hoopa is attacking with Shadow Bullet. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you could just put those energies on Hoopa and then hit for 100 if you need to, right? So there's definitely a use case here. You could also just attach one to the active Hoopa and then start setting up the bench Hoopa. It's got 150 HP. I really like Hoopa, and I think that it's going to be a top-tier meta deck. I think most people are playing Greninja Hoopa with, like, Darkrai and Absol, but maybe it's not needed. I don't know. I'm certainly not a hater, or I certainly am a hater a bit of Absol, so I don't mind cutting Absol from the deck, but I do think Darkrai is a good card, so it's interesting, but yeah, very interesting deck. 8-2-1 record, Rin 0914. Greninja goes well with Hoopa and Cyrus. It's a winning strategy. Might be a little bit tough with Vespiquen in the meta right now. 140 with weakness, like you are going to get KO'd, so maybe you do want those giant capes or something, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Hoopa's really strong, and I do think it's going to be like a Premier Dark type strategy in this new season. Just a really good card, and we're going to have to respect it, honestly. Maybe not, though, if Vespiquen continues to be everywhere this season. But anyway, guys, there is the code. That's the code. Okay. So let's wrap this up by taking a look at the metagame data. Now, I want you guys to stick around here because we are on PocketMads.com and we have a lot of really cool metadata features here that all pertain to this particular tournament. So stick around. Let's dive right into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to register for PMPT number 41 this upcoming weekend. And don't forget to go check out PocketMads.com. I definitely appreciate it. Okay. So if we scroll up here, we're going to get a whole bunch of really relevant information that is laid out perfectly for us. And we're just going to go through it because I do think it's really cool. So again, for our 452 players, 110 different archetypes, to almost 2,500 total games recorded. And the most played archetype was Gouging Fire Dragonair, as you see here in the deck representation chart here at 13.5% meta. So definitely a bit more popular. And if you add up all of the other Mega Rayquaza decks, Mega Rayquaza was exceedingly popular, as it should be. Very, very strong. But not what got first place this weekend. It was Vespiquen, which was 7.1% of the meta. And as we saw here, Mega Manectric was 8% of the meta in a deck, two decks that did extremely well, right? So the most popular decks were successful this weekend. Again, this right here, Mega Rayquaza and Dragonair. This is going to be a deck that plays Drampa, right? So basically, and it's a little bit confusing, but on Limitless, it'll be the same way. So if you see Mega Rayquaza as sort of the front deck, or if you see just sort of Dragonair and Rayquaza, I guess, like on the image, in any sense, they're probably also playing another Pokemon. It's just not Gouging Fire. It's going to be like Drampa. And I don't know why Limitless doesn't put Drampa on the image instead of Gouging Fire. I don't know why it does that. But this one is if you're playing double Mega Rayquaza. This one is if you're playing single Mega Rayquaza. But either of these are not playing Gouging Fire. In fact, they are playing Drampa. I don't know if that's maybe because Gouging Fire is like a 3-diamond rarity card. So maybe it's just sort of more, I don't know. I don't know how they do that on Limitless. How do they categorize it? But anyway, lots of different Mega Rayquaza decks. They're all similar. It's just Drampa or Gouging Fire, or are you playing 1-Ray or 2-Ray? That's the only differences between any of these deck lists. However, yeah, so basically, to sum all of that up, the fourth most played deck of the tournament at 6.4% of the meta was Mega Rayquaza with Drampa. However, it was double Ray in the deck list instead of one. And fifth is actually going to be Sharpedo and Gyarados. And as we saw, guys, not a lot of Sharpedo, Gyarados, or any Sharpedo decks high up in the standings. The main reason for that is because Mega Manectric really was kind of everywhere, and it was super popular in day 2. So if you were playing Sharpedo, you probably didn't have a great time hitting into those Manectrics. However, I do think this is a strong deck, just maybe not that well positioned. In sixth, the sixth most played deck is in fact still going to be Rayquaza, Dragonair, and Drampa, but this time with only one Mega Rayquaza in the deck list. That was 3.5% of the meta. And then at 3.5 as well is going to be Mega Charizard and Entei, and then Sceptile Greninja was also 3.5% of the meta, but as we saw, nowhere in top 32 were either of these decks. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But here's going to be the average win rates of the deck. So these are the decks that actually had the highest win rates throughout the entire tournament. And as you'll see, Mega Manectric did exceedingly well. So even though it didn't get first place, it was by far the most successful deck this weekend with a 60% win rate. Keep in mind, guys, that's 8% of the tournament with a 60% win rate. That is phenomenal. That is about as good as it possibly could be. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if we've really seen a lot of performances better than this. Just an incredible win rate. Vespiquen, very respectable win rate for being the third most played deck at 53.3%, right? So again, if you take a look at the standings here, as you guys saw, Vespiquen did get first place. Manectric got second place, but when you take a look at the greater scope of the metagame, it was Mega Manectric that was actually a lot more successful overall. Gouging Fire, even though it was exceedingly popular, had about a 50% win rate. Sharpedo Gyarados also just about 50%, which is kind of crazy when you consider that Mega Manectric was super dominant, especially in day 2. So definitely telling me that this is a really strong archetype. Sharpedo's really strong. It's just not very well positioned with all of the Manectric flying around. Dragonair Rayquaza also about 50%. But double Rayquaza Dragonair was 40%, and Sceptile was 40%, Charizard also 40%. So these are, again, how those top most played archetypes were in terms of win rates. So, you know, basically expect this to be the future metagame trend, right? Like moving forward, you can expect Mega Manectric to be more popular. Vespiquen will continue to be popular. Gouging Fire will continue to be popular, but maybe less popular than it was this past weekend. Sharpedo deserves to see play. Maybe things like Charizard and Sceptile really just don't, maybe we shouldn't be playing them. You know what I mean? Moving forward, maybe there's just better options. But anyway, this is going to be the day 2 conversion rate. So again, guys, 38.9% top cut conversion rate for Manectric in Heliolisk. So, I mean, a truly dominant performance from this archetype this weekend. I mean, by far, kind of the best. Vespiquen did exceedingly well, and in fact, Dragonair Rayquaza did really well in day 1, jumping all the way up to a 25% conversion rate. So this was a deck that did really well. In fact, in day 1, it actually did better than Gouging Fire, which is kind of interesting, right? So Gouging Fire was only 14.8% conversion rate. Mega Rayquaza all across the board did good. I mean, it had a decent conversion rate everywhere, but for me, the massive standouts were these 3 decks being Manectric, Vespiquen, and Dragonair Rayquaza. So the metagame is definitely quite different. This is a really cool thing here. This is going to be tech card, top 8 versus field inclusions. So what decks did we see more popularly at the top of the standings that we didn't see lower down in the standings? And that's going to be X Speed, right? So Trainer, 50% of top 8 lists were playing X Speed, 50% of top 8 lists were playing Field Blower. Erica, as we know, pretty common because of the Vespiquen, Leaf Cape, Fragrant Forest. Very interesting. And then Pokeball. So, you know, down 14.4 because that's all of the because of all of the Fragrant Forests, right, in top cut. So these are just cards that you saw more popularly in top 8 in all of those top 8 decks, which to me are more kind of tech card inclusions. And then as we see here, Erica, Leafgate, Fragrant Forest, mostly here because of the grass type decks, which I find interesting. And here's going to be the matchup spread data. This is really interesting. I don't know if we're going to go through all of this, but these are the most played archetypes of this tournament, and this is how they all kind of chalk up into each other. So first of all, let's take a look at Gouging Fire, and let's take a look at its matchup. So 52% into Manectric this weekend, but 47% into Vespiquen. So, not too terrible either way. This is a very small margins, but look at this, 89% into Drampa Rayquaza. That's right. So this is why people are going to be playing Gouging Fire, even though overall it's probably worse. It is, in fact, a lot better into Drampa. It almost auto-wins just because of the matchups between Drampa and Gouging Fire. 89% into Double Ray with Drampa, 48% into Sharpedo, so again, about 50-50, 71% into single Rayquaza, double Drampa, 43% to Charizard, so actually loses to Charizard, and it's also losing to Sceptile Greninja. So it's actually not really beating much of anything solidly other than Drampa Rayquaza, which is pretty funny. But let's take a look at Mega Manectric, 48% here into Gouging Fire, 55% into Vespiquen, so it's actually doing quite well into Vespiquen. Really good into Mega Rayquaza, really good into Sharpedo, but loses to Charizard. So I guess Manectric probably struggling a bit into Charizard, which does make a bit of sense, in fact, based on how those decks are. 55% into Sceptile. Now let's look at Vespiquen, which again is really struggling, or struggled this weekend into Drampa double Rayquaza, but was kind of really good into mostly everything else. 45% into Manectric, but kind of really solid win rates across the board. But yeah, really struggling into that Drampa list. So maybe we should see less Gouging Fire, more Drampa is kind of what I'm seeing here. If you want Rayquaza decks to be impactful into the greater scope of the metagame, you should probably be playing Drampa. I think it is, in fact, a better deck. But yeah, as we see here, it is struggling though, I guess, so maybe not into Gouging Fire and Manectric. It also loses to Sharpedo, and it's also losing to the other version, which is a single Rayquaza, but it does beat Charizard, Sceptile, and Vespiquen. So you can kind of see, like, every deck has its ups and has its downs. There's really nothing too great other than Manectric, which is really only struggling into Charizard, but beating most things in the metagame. So, I mean, Mega Manectric, really good. I mean, Gouging Fire, in fact, I mean, this is a kind of a better win rate, I'm not going to lie. So just play Gouging Fire. I don't know what I was talking about. It's probably just play Gouging Fire. I mean, I don't know. It seems better to me. Sharpedo, doing good into Gouging Fire, but doing really bad into Manectric, doing not great into Vespiquen, really good into Drampa Rayquaza. Actually 83% and then 33%. So I don't know what that data is kind of conflicting. It was a smaller sample size, I imagine. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I don't know. I do find that information useful. The matchup charts are definitely quite interesting, but it's only for this tournament. So when it comes to like overall win rate data, it's probably better to just go to the metagame tab on PocketMats.com instead of just looking at a single tournament. That would be my kind of recommendation, right? Which we can do. I mean, if you want to just take a look at the greater scope of the metagame, this is going to be with 7,000 total games. This is every bit of data from Limitless over the last 3 days. This is going to have kind of a similar info, but it's going to be a larger sample size. So it's kind of just better to to use this for things like that. And as you can see, we'll break this down later this week. Tons of great data. Go ahead to PocketMats.com, look through it all, make informed decisions. But anyway, that's the meta report from PMPT number 40 this past weekend. Super fun. Honestly, definitely one of the cooler weekends we've ever had. The metagame is super different. Shout out to everybody that played, 450 people. Really fun, guys. I really do enjoy it. Shout out. Just shout out, man. It's really cool to have this website. It's really cool to still be doing the tournaments. I'm just super happy about it. Tons of videos coming this week, though. I will say we're gonna have our tier list. We're gonna have some deck showcases. There's so much to talk about. I mean, things are gonna be all over the place this week, so you're gonna want to stay tuned for it. But anyway, guys, that's Meta Monday. That's the first Meta Monday on PocketMats.com. That's the first Monday of this new season. Super exciting, by the way. I got nothing else to talk about. I'm just stalling. Let's get out of here. Peace out. Have a good one. We'll see you guys next time. And yeah.